Imagine a fire somewhere in what is now Europe, more than 15,000 years ago. Humans huddled close to the flames, meat roasting, voices low, the night pressing in dark and cold on every side. And a few dozen feet away, just past the edge of the firelight, eyes are watching. Not human eyes, wolf eyes. Now stop and think about how insane that scenario actually is. Wolves are not small animals. An adult gray wolf can weigh over 100 pounds, run for miles without tiring, and take down prey many times its own size, using coordinated pack tactics. They were and still are direct competitors with humans for exactly the same prey: deer, elk, bison. Every instinct you had about large predators says those two groups, humans and wolves, should never have tolerated each other's presence, let alone ended up sharing a camp. Competing predators are supposed to avoid each other, or fight. They are not supposed to become family. And yet, somehow, they did. Somewhere in that firelight, over thousands of years, one of history's strangest and most successful partnerships. Every dog curled up on a couch right now, every good boy, every good girl snoring at the foot of a bed tonight, traces its ancestry back to that fire, and to a wild animal that, for some reason, decided the risk of getting closer to humans was worth taking. So how does a top predator, a direct competitor for the exact same food source, end up becoming humanity's oldest companion, the first animal we ever domesticated, long before cattle, before goats, before a single crop was ever planted? The answer is not one dramatic moment. It is a slow, accidental negotiation that unfolded over thousands of generations, and it starts in a place you might not expect: the trash pile. For a long time, the popular story of dog domestication went something like this. Ancient humans found an orphaned wolf pup, raised it by hand, and it grew up tame. Cute idea. Most researchers today think it is probably wrong, or at least incomplete. Evolutionary biologist Raymond Coppinger proposed a very different explanation, one that has become one of the leading theories in the field. He argued that early humans did not domesticate wolves on purpose at all. Wolves domesticated themselves. Ancient human camps generated waste, bones, scraps, discarded parts of a kill, and that waste was a calorie source, just sitting there in the open. Some wolves would have been too cautious, too fearful of humans, to ever approach. Others, the bolder, calmer individuals, would have risked coming closer to scavenge. Here is the key part. Approaching a human camp is dangerous. If a wolf was too aggressive, too unpredictable, humans likely killed it. So, over generations, the wolves who survived long enough to scavenge and reproduce were the ones with a specific temperament, calm enough to tolerate proximity to humans, but not aggressive enough to trigger a violent response. Biologists have a term for this: flight initiation distance. Essentially, how close a threat can get before an animal bolts. In any wild wolf population, that distance varies a little from individual to individual. Coppinger's theory suggests that human camps acted like a filter, repeatedly and passively selecting for the wolves with the shortest flight distance, the ones calm enough to stick around. Nobody was breeding them on purpose, at least not yet. The camp itself was doing the selecting, meal after meal, generation after generation. Researchers call this pathway commensal domestication, and it just required wolves that were, essentially, a little friendlier than the rest, quietly self-selecting for tameness around the edges of human life. This theory sounds reasonable, but does it hold up? A few very different pieces of evidence suggest it might. The first comes from ancient bones. In Bad Oberkassel, Germany, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a young dog, buried deliberately alongside two humans, dated to roughly 14,000 years ago. Researchers who studied the skeleton, publishing their findings in the Journal of Archaeological Science, found something remarkable. The animal had been infected with canine distemper, a disease that is often fatal within weeks. But this dog's bones showed it had survived multiple relapses over several months. Six wild wolf does not survive that. Something, or someone, was caring for it, feeding it, keeping it alive through a prolonged illness. That is not just tolerance. That looks a lot like an early genuine bond. The second piece of evidence did not come from the past at all. It came from a Soviet science lab in Siberia. 1959, geneticist Dmitry Belyaev began a radical experiment. He wanted to know if breeding silver foxes for exactly one trait, tameness, and nothing else, could recreate the process of domestication in real time. He and his team selected only the calmest, least fearful foxes in each generation to breed. Within just a few generations, something extraordinary happened. Along with becoming friendlier, the foxes began developing traits nobody had selected for. Fluffy ears, curly tails, patchy fur coloring. Physical features associated with domesticated animals appeared automatically as a side effect of selecting for one behavioral trait alone. Belaev's experiment is still running today, and it strongly supports the idea that a wild predator can slide towards something resembling a dog astonishingly fast, once tameness itself becomes the trait that determines survival. There's a third clue, though this one comes with more disagreement attached. In a cave called Coyet, in Belgium, researchers identified a skull dated to roughly 31,000 years old, with a shortened snout and a widened brain case, features that look more like a dog's than a wolf's. Some scientists have proposed this skull represents a very early, possibly unsuccessful, attempt at domestication, a branch that did not survive. Other researchers are skeptical, arguing the skull still falls within the natural range of variation for Ice Age wolves. It is a genuinely unresolved debate, and a good reminder that this history is not one neat timeline. It is scattered evidence, pieced together from bones separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. Here is a question worth sitting with. Why wolves, specifically? Ancient humans lived alongside plenty of other, capable predators. Hyenas, cave lions, bears. All of them scavenged near human camps at various points. None of them became our hunting companion, our alarm system, eventually our family. Part of the answer seems to be social structure. Wolves already lived in cooperative packs with a working hierarchy, coordinated group hunting, and shared care of pups. That is strikingly close to how early human bands were organized. A wolf slotting into a human camp was not adapting to a completely foreign social system. In some ways, it was stepping into a familiar one, just with a different species running it. And the benefits, once that bond formed, ran in both directions. Wolves gained a reliable food source, and eventually, warmth and shelter near the fire. Humans gained something arguably even more valuable. An early warning system with far sharper hearing and smell than any human possesses, an animal that could help track and corner prey during a hunt, and, over time, loyal defense of the camp itself against other predators, and against strangers. Researcher Brian Hare has described this dynamic as survival of the friendliest. The idea that in a shared environment, cooperation and tolerance can be a more powerful evolutionary strategy than raw aggression or strength. Scientists still debate exactly when this all began. Genetic studies and fossil evidence point to a wide window, somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, and researchers disagree on whether it happened once, in one location, or multiple times independently across Europe and Asia. What almost everyone agrees on is this: it was not a single moment of taming. It was a long, patient mutual negotiation between two different species, carried out one cautious approach toward the firelight at a time. And somewhere in that slow unfolding, one of the most dangerous predators on the planet became the first animal to ever choose to sleep beside us and never really leave.